if you're getting ready to sell your home, I want to give you some tips that will help you save money and absolutely sell your home faster. We're going to talk for a moment about the condition of your home. So when I'm working with the seller, they'll always ask me during the process, all right, what update should I do to a house? And here's 3 quick ideas to help you focus on the right things. Number 1, absolutely, you need to focus on the visual appeal. We talk about like the sizzle and the steak, and I don't know, should I paint? Should I do the carpet? Or should I replace the roof? Well, I wish that every buyer thought about a home the way that a seller does, but the reality is buyers are absolutely visually motivated, and the visual appeal of a home is going to have much more of an impact. When they talk about the bang for your buck, you absolutely want to get the visuals right. Oftentimes, if you don't focus enough on the sizzle, right, the visual appeal of a home, a buyer won't even stay in it long enough to inspect the steak or to inspect the HVAC, the hot water heater, the roof, the windows, on and on and on. So I want you to focus on the visual appeal, the things that a buyer would notice in a cursory glance or would show up online. I want that to be your first focus. Now, be willing and set aside money, resources, energy to deal with the things that are beneath the surface. These are things that you know about the property that a buyer might not know. And absolutely, you need to be willing to address those issues as they come along, depending on the market. Number 2, I want you to think about repairs this way. So you might say like, well, I've got some deferred maintenance. I've got an old hot water heater. I've got an old HVAC. What should I replace any of this stuff? Should I replace the kitchen appliances? What repairs should I make? Well, think of it like a car. So on a car, you might have tires that are old, and you might have a power steering issue. Now, I don't know if you've ever been out on the interstate and you've had a tire blow. That can be really scary, right? That could be absolutely detrimental, be an absolute safety issue, and could cause a big problem, which is why when our tires get down to a certain level, we get them replaced, right? It's preventative because the impact of the catastrophe could be really big. Now, I don't know if you've had a power steering go out on your vehicle. We had it go out on one of ours, and here's what I'll tell you. It's a total pain. I absolutely hated it when the power steering went out. But it made it hard to drive. You had to put your elbow into it, but it didn't make it unsafe in the same way as a tire blowing out on the interstate. So when you think about that, it's not like we preventatively replace the power steering pump. That's one of those things that we address when it goes bad. Now, why am I telling you about tires and power steering? Well, let's think about like an HVAC system and maybe a hot water heater that is up in your attic. Well, if the HVAC goes out, it's really gonna be a bummer, and it's gonna be hot and muggy, and you're gonna feel miserable and cranky. But it didn't necessarily cause a safety issue, right? It's just that the HVAC went out and you can address it then. Whereas if you had an old hot water heater up in the attic and it's getting beyond its useful life, it's getting old, you see signs of it, and you don't replace it, man, when that thing goes bad, it might flood your entire house. That's an example of something that you might actually fix preventatively, because when it actually has a problem, the problem is much bigger in scope. All right. Third comment is this: do not over improve for the area. So there's a statement of you never want to be the nicest house on the block. That's because when you go to sell your home, not only do you have to find a buyer that wants to buy it, but you've also got to find an appraisal company that will say it's worth that. And the struggle with appraisals is they won't tend to pay for those niceties that make something the nicest house on the block. So when you're thinking about improving, I absolutely want you to improve. I want you to spend money on paint and carpet. I want you to focus on the kitchen. I want you to focus on the bathrooms. I want you to focus on some very specific things. But what I don't want you to do is set your mark on what could I improve in this house to make it the nicest house in the area. That would be over improving for the purposes of selling. Do that for personal reasons. Do that for the personal satisfaction of it, ego, significance. That's all fine, but don't do it because you were thinking that that was the best move economically. The reality is that economically, we want to improve something to the point of it being at or just above average in a neighborhood that causes us to sell faster and actually recoups that money. So hope that's helpful. If you want to hear more about this, reach out to me. Happy to have a detailed conversation about your home. Take care.